Welcome to the Bookers Alliance podcast, where we hold the pencil and the pencil is power. Coming at you right now is your host, Marky Mark, along with the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Donaldson. Join us as we discuss the ever-changing landscape of professional wrestling. So hang on tight, you jabronis, and enjoy the ride. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for joining today's episode of the Bookers Alliance podcast. Come on inside the house, bring yourself up your ringside seat, get your sodas, your popcorn, your whiskey, get everything you need, because we don't want you being overlooked and underused in any way.
Well, that won't be me because I'm the talent here. So that I have to do all the heavy lifting on the talent side here. So I never have to worry about that. But some are grunt work people around here. I mean, hey, they probably get underappreciated a lot, but you guys will be all right. Figure it out.
I feel like that's what's being said to some of this talent.
I probably right. I mean, I'm more likely sure to say that them conversations have been had at some point in time, but they'll be all right too. They'll be all right.
Yeah. So today's topic is overlooked and underused. But before we get to our topic, we've got to get to our sponsor this week. Sponsor was kind enough to give us with a second round here. If you go way back in the archives, listen to the sponsors that we've had in the past. Den of Thieves was a sponsor. So they've come back around, and we have greatly accepted their sponsorship this week for their whiskey. So cheers to Den of Thieves.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I think I remember that taste there. That's kind of distinct. I think I remember that one.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
definitely.
Good.
Anybody we let come back around the circle again, you got to be doing something right by. So, all right.
Absolutely. All right. So first things first, let's talk about where this topic came from. Overlooked and underused. So the week of WrestleMania, a lot of stories were going around about the people who didn't make the card.
Yep.
And look, even though it's a 2-night extravaganza, not everybody can get on the card.
Now, I mean, now that they took the Battle Royal away, sometimes you gotta take that SmackDown win as a positive, or that night after WrestleMania Raw. Sometimes you have to look at that and say, hey, this is the moment I get. I'll show them why they should regret not having me on the show. So you got to make your moments count. But like you said, even though it's 2 nights, unless we start running 7-8 hour events each night, you're not going to fit everybody in there. That's the blessing and the curse of having the deep of a talent roster is what they have.
Yeah, and unfortunately, WWE is not New Japan. We're not doing Wrestle Kingdom where you're doing 16 hours and 2 days of wrestling. It's not going to happen.
I mean, AEW's pushing it too. They don't do 2 days, but if they have a pay-per-view, they're going to do at least 7 hours between start to finish.
I still would prefer quality over quantity any day in my professional wrestling. But that's neither here nor there. This is about talking about the talent that has been overused or underused and overlooked. GCW.
Misused. Don't forget misused.
Misused too.
Yeah,
right?
because there's a lot of people that are getting misused.
Right. So GCW ran an event over WrestleMania weekend called Bloodsport. This event is just like the WWE underground matches that happen, or the NXT underground matches that happen. It's more catered to an MMA style. There's no ring ropes. You don't have people doing 450 splashes off the top rope in a turnbuckle. You don't have any of that going on. But what you do have is you really have a cross promotion event that's been happening now for the past 2-3 years, where it's still low key. A lot of people's not following it yet. They know it's happened, but not a lot of people get a chance to see it unless scour the internet and find the videos and they get uploaded and things like that. But this event had 2 people in there that totally changed my outlook on who they were. And it's all because they had a chance, and they took that chance and they turned it into something magical. The first person that I want to talk about right now, everybody is starting to catch on. Everybody is starting to push. Everybody is starting to create a grassroots type movement behind this man. He was an NXT champion, for God's sakes. Karrion Kross.
Yeah, but he was NXT champion before he got called up to the main roster and shaved his head and wore that little diaper out to the ring that day. I mean, terry cloth or whatever he had on that day. A lot of times, a lot of times that first impression, it sets the tone. And unfortunately, I mean, he's been released, he's been brought back, he's been elevated, he's been demoted. I feel like he just can't shake that stink of that first impression that we got of him, and it's unfortunate.
So we've talked about this though in the past though. There's been so much domination by the Bloodline and Cody, and then CM Punk Drew, CM Punk Seth. Even with recently Charlotte and Tiffany, all of these storylines, you can't fit but so much on one program,
right?
I mean, you just can't.
Yeah, you're only, especially WWE, they're only getting, 5 or 6 hours on TV a week, and not including NXT, of course. And, and then it's pay-per-view time. So you can only do so much in a small amount of time. And there's only a certain amount of spots for guys to get in there. If especially when those aforementioned programs tend to run longer in the show. Like, when the Bloodline was active, they were taking up 30 minutes of the show between the start, open of the show, and then they were sprinkled throughout the show, and then they would typically close the show through one iteration or another. I mean, that's 30 minutes of your 2-hour SmackDown. Sadly, 3-hour SmackDown, but they're okay to go back to 2. I don't know why they haven't adapted to that yet, but feel free to go back to 2 if you're listening. But nonetheless, in that time frame, they're still, when it was 3 hours, I mean, they were taking up 45 minutes then. They had a lot of real estate in that window of time. Well, that doesn't leave a lot of room for people that aren't working with them to get on TV. The people that were working with them, now granted, Bloodline brought up a lot of people. They elevated a lot of people within the ranks of the group and the people that they worked with. But when you're not working with them, I mean, you're just kind of slotted in somewhere to fill time, and that's kind of a rough position.
So with Karrion, you may wonder, why are we talking about Karrion? I see him on TV every week. You do see him on TV. You see him in a 2-3 minute spot. Now, if you are paying attention to those 2 to 3 minute spots, he is maximizing every bit of the chance he gets when he's on screen.
Yeah.
If you look at everything that's going on with people turning heel, New Day, he was a part of the New Day heel turn.
Yeah.
If you look at when he talks to people backstage, when he goes up and he talks to AJ Styles, look at his hair. His hair is matching AJ Styles' hair. He talked to Sammy. His hair was matching what Sammy was doing. He is playing this devil on your shoulder character under wraps. A lot of people may not be connecting the dots, but he's trying to maximize every bit of time. But when he went on GCW Bloodsport, he went from being Karrion Kross to who he was before he came to the WWE. Killer Kross. Killer Kross is an MMA savage of a wrestler. And yes, when I say MMA, this dude is legit. Go online, look up Karrion Kross snaps a bat. This dude put a bat in the jiu-jitsu hold and just snapped it like it was nothing.
Yeah.
He is legit. He can really go. Why isn't he getting on TV? Why doesn't this make sense? He's not connected with the right people until WrestleMania weekend. He went on the whole WWE post-WrestleMania backstage thing, cut a promo to where he blurred the lines, whether you didn't know if it was reality, if it was basically a work, if he was pissed off. All I know is that got the attention of who he called out. He said the man with the suit and tie in the truck. That got Hunter's attention.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is Karrion is a prime example of who we want to talk about today. The people that are overlooked, underused, misused. That's who we want to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I saw an interview that Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin did with Chris Van Vliet over WrestleMania weekend. And same thing. I mean, Lashley said he was working with Karrion, and he actually proposed to Karrion that they should just get, when they had a match, he said they should just go at it. They should just shoot, because they said that's the only way we're going to get out of this little bubble that we're in here, because we're going to get people talking. And he said, hey, he's a real fighter. I'm a real fighter. He said, if we start shooting, who's going to stop us?
Right.
I mean, and he ain't wrong about that. No, nobody's getting in there. You're just going to let
Jamie
that happen.
Noble ain't stopping there.
No, you're not right. You're not
Hurricane ain't getting in there.
No, you're not jumping in there to call it quits. You're just going to let it happen. And, but he said they ran a few scenarios and they just couldn't figure out a way. And then they just scrapped the whole program, which unfortunately that tends to happen more often than not with Karrion. The AOP got released, Ellering got released. Basically, they took away the faction that he was leading, so now he's just flailing around. Well, WrestleMania is that reset, so take the reset, find a way to get him into a program. He's working with AJ now. Get him in the ring with AJ. Let AJ put him over. Let AJ make him a star. Let him do what he's out there to do, and let Karrion do what he's able to do. You know what I mean?
I honestly think if they was to even pick a new member for Seth's little faction that he got started up, Karrion would be a great addition to that little faction.
I can see that. The only thing is he's going to bring Scarlett with him, and then you got her and Paul, and then you got that whole two-manager dynamic again. So, I don't know. There's other directions they could take him. It looks like they should take him other direct, because they can't lose Scarlett on that gimmick. I mean, if you do that, you're burying him. It's just like when he came to the roster first time.
That's true. Him and Scarlett are tied together.
Yeah, so they need to be together to keep, both of their names in everybody's mouth.
Yep.
But who else you got on that list over there?
So the other one that actually participated in GCW Bloodsport was Natty Neidhart. Not Natalia, but Natty Neidhart.
Yeah.
So she has come out on social media cutting a little promo talking about the difference between Natalia versus Natty Neidhart.
Yeah.
Natty Neidhart, according to her, and this is quote her, she's the bitch that'll punch somebody's teeth out. Like, oh shit, like for real. Like she is going there. And, she was trained in the heart dungeon. I mean, she is a heart. I mean, the way that she was trained, she can go. She can really go. She's never been able to really show that, though, except for the one NXT Underground match that she had. That one, she was able to showcase that, but who she was in that match is who she was in Bloodsport. She wasn't the nice, happy, smiling Natalia coming down to the ring with the peppy music and the high fives and everything like that. This was Natty Neidhart, who came out to Rage Against the Machine's Killing in the Name of. Like, complete character change. And I'm like, you go to watch that match, it's 13 minutes of violence. And I'm like, where has she been? That's incredible.
I mean, she's always been there, but the downside of that for her is who she had to work with at the time. When she first broke in, I mean, we were still in the Divas era, so there was no Killer Natty. That wasn't going to happen, right? And then as the new generation came up, same difference. They're not really killers either. They're more athletic. So, you got your Charlottes and your Tiffany's and that, they're more athletic, but, you don't have any, quote unquote, MMA style fighting women on the opposite side of the ring from her. So she had to lean more into her family name to get, a place where she could stand out. So she had to be a heart. She had to wear the pink and black. She had to use the sideways hitman music. She had to do stuff like that. If you run her down the fighter girl gimmick, well, then she's Shayna Baszler. I mean, we got one of those already, and I think we're going to talk about her later. So she's already being misused. So now you got two people being misused if you use her that way. So I don't know if I could say she's been misused because, I mean, Natty's, 20 years in at this point?
Yep.
So she's had a hell of a career. I don't know if I could say she's misused, but I definitely can agree that she hasn't been used correctly or at least in better ways she could have been used. I think she got used to the best of her abilities as far as she's gotten, but after you see things like that, you see they could have went a different way with her.
Yep.
And they could have maybe laid the blueprint for how to use Shayna Baszler or Ronda Rousey or what was the other girl's name that got released? She was MMA. Mandy Rose's tag team partner. I can't think of her name now.
But yeah, her, and then go ahead and talk about Zoe Stark.
Yeah, the same difference.
Zoe
Right?
Stark is right there at it. You can even go as deep as what's going on in NXT with Lola Vice, Carmen Petrovic.
Yep.
There's enough of that caliber now where you could. I would embrace that if I was WWE. I would be embracing all of these women that want to fight that MMA style because it's different. And I'm going to tell you right now, UFC blew up in the late 90s, early 2000s, but it also started to die until a Ronda Rousey came along and revitalized MMA. The women, she was the first one to put the women on the map and basically say, hey, Dana, you think these dudes can go? Put the girls in here. Let's see what they can do. And as soon as she did that, the women's part of the UFC blew up, and it carried the sport and it brought it back. To me, there's enough going on, and I'll even include somebody else that's on this list, Ivy Nile. There's enough going in there with the women's division that's so different than your Charlottes, your Beckys, your Baileys, your Tiffany Strattons, your Nia Jax. They're completely different.
I don't know. I think Nia could get in there and bang with some of those
I would like to see
fighters.
that.
Yeah, I actually think she could get in there and bang with some of those fighters.
I would like to see that. But that just kind of rolls through some of the ladies that are on this list. But let's get to somebody else real quick. An unfortunate, I hate this guy's name is up here because he's so good, but Andrade.
So yeah, same, right? Like him, well, he may actually be in divorce hell right now. So I mean, there's no way of knowing exactly why he's being used the way he is. So we'll digress on that. Fact of the matter is he's being misused. But I mean, kind of in the package deal with him is Carmelo Hayes, right?
Yep.
I mean, at this stage of the game, those two have been kind of linked together, and you can almost see like they're looked at as the next generation. Well, they're here now. I mean, and Andrade was gone. He came back. Carmelo's got called. He got called up from NXT, a year ago, I think.
First round draft pick.
Yeah, he was a first round draft pick, number one draft pick or whatever the case may be. And he's flailed around on the main roster ever since. Now, granted, and we talked about this before, the bottlenecks at the top. And it's, it gets flooded up there when there's a lot of names up there, when you got your Codys and your Romans and your Drews and your, Seths and those guys flailing, when they're flapping around in the wind at the top of the bottle, you're not getting easily past those guys to get to the top, right? But you still don't want to just dangle in mid-card forever. Essentially, you want to get to a point where you break through. And, now might be that time where you got, a lot of those names I just mentioned where they're on the sidelines right now. Now may be the time to do it, but they got to look at, what they want to do with these guys. They let Carmelo and Andrade come down to the last two in the Andre Battle Royal, right? And Carmelo Hayes ended up winning. You're like, okay, well, now we go. There's a breakthrough. Well, then we come right back, the week after WrestleMania, nothing. Or nothing of substance, at least. They may have had a match, but nothing of substance. No, we're not elevating anybody. We're not taking them to the next level. It's like, okay, that happened and move on. And, well, damn.
Yep. Somebody else that is on this list, Dakota Kai. Even though Dakota Kai was in the picture for a hot moment in I believe it was the Intercontinental fight between her and Lyra. Like, she was in it for a moment, but then all of a sudden it's like, we got nothing for you.
Well, same thing. She hung around with Damage Control for a while, and that faction was on top, but she spent most of that time injured. So when she came back and she was ready to go, they were kind of looking into disbanding the group, and some other injuries happened. I mean, a lot of, I think what's happening with her is just bad timing, but nonetheless, if she's available and she's good, figure out something else for her, right? Take the time to say, well, okay, XYZ didn't work out here, so we need to start looking at LMNOP, right? We need to get in the middle of it and start either elevating those people or getting them somewhere where they can help elevate somebody else. Do something with them, right? Hanging around the roster and catering, that ain't what these guys want to do. What these ladies want to do either.
2 words: Apollo Crews.
Is he still there?
Yep, he's still there.
What's he still doing there? Is he still doing the Black Panther gimmick?
Nope.
Where he had the spear and all that. He had the accent.
He done left that too.
Oh hell! How far behind am I? Wait, he was teaming with Baron Corbin.
Another one that's gone.
Well, Baron got released, so but as with what happens with WWE, a guy gets released. If he's working with another person, they usually just hang that other person out for a while. And, so now Apollo's waiting out there to, I guess, be enhancement talent again.
Apollo had every bit of the build and talent to be a Chad Gable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Every bit of it. I mean, he also had the hops of,
with the athleticism and all that he had. I mean, he basically brought the same package that Shelton Benjamin brought when he came in, but he brought it 20 years later, which means he's 20 years younger. I mean, or at least 10 years younger. But same thing with Shelton. Shelton never got to that main event level. Apparently Apollo Crews won't either. He wrestled for the NXT title. He got up there, never won it. He made Intercontinental Champion. He made U.S. Champion. Can't break through the ceiling again. Bottleneck problem. But Apollo ain't getting no younger. So, I mean.
No, he's not.
Like where we talk about that with a Carmelo Hayes or an Andrade, those guys are younger. They've got a lot of years, especially Carmelo. He's got a lot of years under his belt. So he can get there. But, when you're taking these guys that are knocking on 40 and you're still trying to get them there, I mean, you're running the risk of a hell of a problem here. So.
Another one, and I don't know how they're missing this dude because he's so damn big. Omos.
Well, hell, they're missing him because he ain't there. I mean, he's last I heard he was wrestling in Japan.
He came back.
Yeah, for what?
Exactly. And he
came back so they could feed his big ass in catering. I mean, that's a lot of food costs there. You got to leave him at home
because they pulled him back, and I'm like,
yeah,
wow.
That's what they said.
Why not just leave him in Japan?
I mean, he was working over there. They should have left him over there just to go work. So the thing about Omos,
he could have been another Vader in Japan.
Right. I mean, the thing about Omos here is when he was here, his promo skills weren't the best, and they had MVP to help. They did the whole switch with him and Bobby to have. Well, now MVP's gone. Hell, Bobby's gone. I don't know what they would do with him here anymore. You want to use him as an attraction. I get that. You don't want him on your TV every week because he's still green. I get that. But hell, why bring him back then? Like you said, if he's doing something over in New Japan, let him go do it. At this point, we don't want anybody to lose their contract, and I don't know what kind of contract they have with him. I would assume it would be hefty because he came in under the Vince era. And you know how Vince is when he sees a big guy. He's like, well, wrap him up for as long as we can.
Yep.
So I don't know if he can't go back, but if you were loaning him out over there to New Japan or in Japan, keep loaning him out. Let him keep holding his craft. Or if you're going to bring him back, have something ready when you bring him back. Have something you can insert him into.
Just have him be a heavy for somebody.
Do something.
Yeah.
Why
send him at home? I mean, I want to see him on TV. There's not that many giants in there right now.
You got that right. So at this stage, do something with him.
Yeah.
Pair him up with Carmelo and Miz. I mean, let Miz do all the talking for both of them. Carmelo can do all the work, and Omos can be the dominant guy. They should be tag champs this weekend. With what we just wrote up, they should be tag champs right now.
All right, next guy. Now, granted, he's been paired into a tag team with Tyler Bates, but still, I really liked the way they used Pete Dunne in NXT. He was, in my opinion, utilized better. I never saw him, though, unfortunately. Pete, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I never saw him in that upper echelon. He was always around, to me, if he would have been like, North American title or the Intercontinental scene or the U.S. champion scene. But to me, he's so different. Now, granted, they did at least drop that whole Butch gimmick.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Although that was a good team with him to be tied in with Sheamus and the injury guy. We don't. We're just going to stick with that there. Injury prone. But it was a good because it was kind of that you had the older veteran, then you had the young, the younger worker, and then you had the greenest goose shit guy. And everybody was able to learn a little from each other. But the whole tying it in with the whole Butch thing and all that was just nonsense. That was ridiculous. Yeah. They could have left him how he was, and and stuck with that gimmick. But I'll be honest, I don't hate him with Tyler Bate. Because, the Bruiserweight group or whatever, what were they, the Bruiserweight Boys or something like that? Big, strong Bruiserweights?
New Catch Republic.
God, I just came up with 3 way better names than
But
that.
he was called the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He was the bruiserweight, and Tyler Bate was the big strong boy. Why wouldn't they be the bruiserweight boys? But give me a break on that. But nonetheless, I mean, I didn't mind them in the tag team with that, but they never did anything with the damn team.
Yeah.
The team never chased after the title. You know, they never had a good, strong run with the titles, you know, show their dominance. Or they never had any of that either. So, I mean, you're going to package them in with another guy that you're misusing, and then you misuse the hell out of both of them. Well, okay. I mean, great. Yeah, it gets them on TV, so I guess. But no, they have so much more potential. Keep the guys together, but actually use the potential. Let them get in there with New Day. Let them get in there and throw around with New Day, see who can win. Hell, when Ilya Dragunov comes back, they ain't gonna have a spot for him either. We'll be talking about him next year around at this same conversation.
That's so sad.
Put him in with those 2 guys and make them a group, make them a faction, and let them go after something. Let them get after the Intercontinental title or something. Jesus, get something for those guys.
Next guy up, Santos Escobar. I mean, just flat out, that dude is so misused.
I mean, so that conversation could never end at this point now, but
he punks out to everybody, and it's like, why?
True. I mean, chicken shit healed. I mean, that's just, and he's the leader of the faction, so he kind of has to do it first. Upside for a guy like Santos and his group and LWO is the AAA,
This is true.
grab that the WWE got. And apparently, from what Conan was saying on his Keeping It 100 podcast, he's really excited about the working relationship WWE is going to have, and he's confident that they're going to share talent and they're going to intermingle with each other as far as what you get out of the product. So, I mean, guys like that, your LWOs, your Los Lotharios, your Santos, Rey Mysterio, Rey Fenix is there now, Penta, they already have a good working relationship in Mexico. Hopefully those guys will start to see their potential realized in AAA. And maybe, that'll be where maybe that's why WWE brought up a lot of the international talent. Maybe they really are looking at expanding into these international markets. Instead of making NXTs, they just, merge in with companies that are already existing and then share talent with them. That would be a great spot for those guys. I mean, granted, you don't want to get them completely off United States TV because they sell merch here and they entice a lot of fans to watch.
Right.
But hell, share them with them. If they're not working or if we don't have room for all those guys on Raw this week, hell, we got room down at AAA for them because they're going to be coming from the big time promotion down to the local promotion, quote unquote. Hell, yeah, that works. So there is potential to use them right. Now we're just hoping they do.
The last one that I have on here from the WWE, and a lot of people may go like, wait, why is he on the list? Shinsuke Nakamura. And why
is he on the list?
This is somebody that I will die on this hill for. I will. And here's why I'll die on this hill. Since day one, when that man was put up to the main roster, he has been misused meticulously. It doesn't even make sense to me how misused he was. NXT, fantastic. Crazy good matches. Whatever reason, it didn't translate to the main roster. And then, you heard me for the longest time. Bring back the Shinsuke from New Japan that I know. Bring that guy back. Bring the evil bastard with the face paint who was the protege to freaking the Great Muta. Bring this guy back that does the mist. Bring him back. And then lo and behold, he comes back. You get some cool vignettes, comic book style, anime style. Loved every moment of it. Put him in a program with Cody. Cody's on an astronomical run right now. Of course, they're not going to dethrone Cody with Shinsuke, but that's cool. Every hero needs a villain. Shinsuke could be the villain. Fantastic. Put the freaking new heel music with him. Change the dynamic. Give him a mask, a cool mask to wear down to the ring. Put the US strap on him. Great. And then he just freaking disappears.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately.
Like, what happened?
Unfortunately, we don't know if that was a him thing or a company thing. He may be looking at, moving on to, something different. But I'll be honest with you. As I was listening to the description and all, I was just realizing I think we're at a stage right now where that foreign heel gimmick just ain't going to work no more. It's just not going to translate to wrestling audiences because we're so detached from.
Why does it have to be a foreign heel? Why couldn't?
Because everything you just said was foreign. You just went through the mask and the Muda and the face paint and all that stuff. Everything that you just said leaned heavily into Japanese heel character.
Frank, this is where we differ. This is where I become the traveling gypsy. There is a part of American culture that is just as excited for Japanese style art and anime as they are for straight up blue collar barbecue, red, white, and blue American wrestling.
They definitely are, but you know what we call them? The silent majority. They exist everywhere. They're also the ones still crying for Cody over there. They're still the ones over there. Belly aching for this and belly aching for that. There's always going to be those people, but it's not going to be the people that are buying tickets and paying money to go see the show, right? They want to see this niche of wrestling that the rest of the world couldn't care less about. And when wrestling, and because I know we're going to talk about AEW, so it exists on both sides. When wrestling companies lean into that silent majority thing, it never pays off because that silent majority, they were already watching. So you're not bringing in new viewers. They were already buying shirts and posters, and so you're not bringing in new merch. You're not making new fans. You're just placating to the fans that were already there that have been crying for this same thing for umpteen years. That's not growing the brand at all. That's placating to the people that are already there. I mean, you can play your best hits every now and again for the fans that are always going to be there, sure, but if you want to grow the business, you got to do something creative and new, not the great mood of 30 years later.
So I also think the fan interaction when they took that away by changing the song, that also killed.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. If you notice in NXT, the entrances of songs, they get over really, really fast. Yeah. You know why that is, though? Silent majority. Because in the NXT arena is the same fans week in and week out who fall in love with that stuff, and that's what they choose to go to that. That's not like a ticketed event that moves around or whatever. It's in the same place week in and week out. Those fans are making a concerted effort to be there for NXT because they love that brand. I mean, that's damn near like the territories used to be back in the day, where you loved your brand and you went for it. Well, again, they're the silent majority. So when you care, great, like when Shinsuke went to the main roster, they didn't change anything about his entrance and all that. And fans sung with the song for a while, but I mean, that was 10 years ago. We ain't still singing the song 10 years ago. Now, we ain't still going to be singing Seth's music in 10 years from now either. And it took them 20 years to sing Randy's music. So, I mean, that's all over the place. And that's also a foreign thing, too. But as far as U.S.-based audiences, that interest is only going to get you so far. And that when that runs out, it's like, okay, what else you got? And if what else you got is foreign heel, it ain't going to work.
All right, let's talk about a couple people on the AEW side. Hit number one, probably the biggest one that's on this list, Wardlow.
God, I mean, so the list would have had a lot more names, but luckily those guys have recently been released. And they've gone on to other pastures to see what they can make. So we either may be talking about them in 6 months in this same conversation, or hopefully we're talking about where they've grown from there. But unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever talk about Wardlow in any other conversation but this until he gets away from AEW. If he stays in that company, we've talked about him in this same conversation, in this same company for at least 3 years straight.
Yep.
He had one good solid run where he was a quote unquote main eventer, and he came out on the bottom of that. And we'll talk about that another day or why. But ever since then, I mean, he's never been able to come out of obscurity now. He's on that witness protection program that AEW runs every now and again, and apparently he can't get out.
There's a theory on why he's missing from TV.
Because the AEW sucks?
No. The theory is the same reason why Elias went missing. Elias was forced to shave his beard, become a different character. That wasn't working out, so he completely vanished from TV again to let his beard grow back. So Wardlow cut his hair.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, well, the Wardlow gimmick was working better with the hair, the long hair that he had.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. But still, you can't tell me that that's why this young talent who was just amazing in the ring. Now, granted, AEW does do one thing better than WWE.
What's that, mess up?
Yeah.
No.
Typically when somebody's injured and they don't want it out, AEW is really good at protecting it. They don't let it leak. They don't let it slip the dirt sheets.
Yeah.
So Wardlow,
because the guys just disappear. I mean, they're just gone.
Wardlow may legitimately be hurt. We just not know it.
Well, if he's still hurt after, as long as he's been gone now, he's done.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, he's Biggie.
Well,
they should put him on the pre-show.
In the world of professional wrestling, absence does not make the heart grow fonder.
No,
absence gets you forgotten.
Yeah, I was going to say out of sight, out of mind is what happens in wrestling. I mean, there's certain guys when they're like, when your legendary stars disappear and Kevin Nash comes back tomorrow, yeah, he'll get a pop, but he's not going to get it every other week. I mean, after that initial pop, it's like, all right, what now? Moving on. You bring a guy like Wardlow back, yeah, he'll get a big pop, but if you're going to misuse him again, yeah, I'd rather leave him where at least he's getting paid for, letting his body heal at this point. So that's the caveat to it. If they're going to use him the way they've been using him, hell, leave him at home so at least he doesn't tarnish his legacy any worse.
Yep.
And at this stage now, and if he gets released or whatnot, he can at least have a chance to go somewhere else and become a bigger star again. If he comes back and and they flub it up again, well, now you're going to start looking at how many chances is this guy given, and we don't, those of us who know that it's a Booker thing because we're the Booker's Alliance.
That's right.
But people that don't know, they're looking at him like, hey, this guy just sucks because he can't get over. And it's unfortunate for the talent, but I mean, it is what it is. So if I'm him and they're going to misuse me again, I'd also want to stay at home.
True. Somebody else that they've misused along the way, DMD, the Dr. Britt Baker.
So, yeah, remember what we were talking about Andrade and he was in divorce prison or whatever there may be some of that involved with this here too.
Could be.
I mean, I don't understand that. So, granted, now we know she was injured. We know she had a hell of an injury, real scary injury that, that put her out for a while.
Right.
But we also know she's come back since then. We know she's had a lot of backstage drama since then. We know she's had some personal life drama since then. And now all of a sudden she's gone. And it's like, okay, she was once a cornerstone. Remember when we had cornerstones or pillars? Yeah, we had pillars. And well, she was one of them. And somehow or another, that pillar's been so forgotten about that it's insane. Unfortunately, we can't forget about her. So we still bring her up like, hey, there's something to be done with her here. Why are we missing it?
Yep.
But unfortunately, we may never get it at this point. I don't know what's going to happen.
One other person at AEW that's so misused, even though she walks around with a championship belt, Athena.
A championship belt, like the belts we get, collector's belts, replicas.
No, that is the women's ROH champion.
What the hell is ROH? Ring of Hell?
See, y'all, I can't deal with this man today.
I mean, I thought ROH went away a long time ago too. Hell, that's
still around.
Well, I guess the one positive I could bring up is at least we don't see all their championship titles on Collision and Dynamite every other week like we used. I mean, there was a time where every damn match had minimum 2 belts involved with it. And it's like, well, damn. What the hell are they even fighting for? If she's the women's XYZ champ versus the other women, the TBS champ, what the hell are they fighting for? They're both champions.
What was Athena's name in WWE?
Ember Moon. Of which who had maybe one of the most awesome finishes. The flip, the twist and Stone Cold Stunner off the top rope.
Yeah.
Awesome finishing move. Maybe that's why she don't wrestle no more, because that's got to be doing a toll on her body.
Could be.
So I guess if you're out there doing that 3 times a week, you ain't going to have a long career. So maybe this is making her career last longer.
She did just have an amazing match with Mercedes, so I'll give her that.
That's very true, yep.
They had a good match together. Somebody else that's really underused and has been underused since the day he came into AEW, the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer.
Who?
Yeah, for real.
Shit, he's still... Now,
he was with Jake.
Yeah, he was with Jake.
That was cool.
So here's the thing, right? We've talked about a lot of underused and misused and things like that. Well, that's happened to Lance Archer everywhere he went. I mean, he had that problem in WWE. He had that problem in TNA. He had that problem in AEW. At some stage of the game, you got to start saying, is it the company or is it the performer, right? Now, I'm not saying he's a bad performer because apparently he's had hella good runs in New Japan. But in all honesty, maybe that's his niche, right? Maybe that's where he belongs. Stan Hansen was that kind of guy. Stan Hansen had a much better and more lucrative career in New Japan than he ever had in American wrestling. Yep. It just is what it is, and that may be the case for a guy like Lance Archer. Maybe he's just better off in like a Japan style wrestling because he's been to all the major companies that have existed in his career in America and none of them caught, right? For some reason or another, everywhere he was, besides up till AEW now, he's been let go of everywhere else he's gone to. You know, when you look at stature, when you look at his size, his look, his gimmick and all that, seems like a no-brainer, right? It seems like a can't-miss kind of guy, but for some reason, he swings and misses a lot. So I don't want to say it's the talent, but I want to say take a look at the talent and just say, you know, maybe this just ain't the right fit for him.
So as we kind of wrap this episode up, been a lot of talent we've talked about through this episode. A lot of people that could use some definite airtime, some jump starts. Hell, maybe even go to a different promotion. I mean, look, WWE,
New Japan.
WWE.
We just put it out there.
WWE's big time, but you know, if it ain't working in there, you know, go somewhere else where you can get it jump started and maybe come back.
Absolutely. Yeah, and AEW's not big time, but if it ain't working there, maybe you need to look at a new occupation.
Damn.
I'm just saying.
Frank just put it out there like that.
I'm just saying.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Reach out on our social media platforms. Drop us a line. Tell us who you think maybe is overlooked, misused, underused. Let us know what you think. And with that, everybody, we bid you adieu.
Peace. So I heard you're starting with AEW next week.
Today's podcast was produced by SBP. You can find our podcast on all major podcast platforms. Also, connect with us on our social media accounts. Search for The Bookers Alliance on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and